Hello everyone, so we will be talking about passing OSCP this time. Let's first talk about the exam. So the exam is about 24 hours, and in these 24 hours you have to hack about 5 machines, and after the exam is finished you have to make a detailed report in the next 24 hours. And to be very specific, the exam is about 23 hours and 45 minutes, after which your lab time expires and after which you will not be able to do anything. So yeah, so that's about the exam. The exam consists of about 5 machines, which I think is a general, people are generally aware about it. And the 5 machines consist of, all of them consist of different scores. So like one machine would be 10 marks, one machine would be 25 marks, so different machines carry different marks. So you have to emphasize on which one or which machine do you want to do first. So depending upon your level of expertise or your level of comfortable, being comfortable with a particular concept or being comfortable with a particular thing, you can go on seeing which machine do you want to go ahead with first. One of the things that people are really concerned about is the buffer overflow. So buffer overflow is something that you need to get comfortable with first before even taking the OSCP exam, because this is something that can take most of your time. And getting comfortable with immunity debugger is really important, because unless until you're familiar with the screen, the CPU, the executables, the different modules that it has, and seeing where the stack is, where the and where the all the registers are placed, you need to understand these basic things of where you'll get to find which thing. So you need to be uh, very familiar with the immunity debugger. Apart from that, you need to have mona.py. That is something that just saves up your time, and it helps to get uh, you to develop your exploit faster. So that is something you definitely need, and you definitely need to build a few exploits beforehand, so that you know of how to build up a exploit. Go for something simple, which you can go and find on YouTube channels, or just try to find one simple SMTP or FTP based exploit which will help you get comfortable with these particular things. So that is something you need to get familiarized with. I have also placed a link of a YouTube channel which helps you find bad characters, thanks to Pentester Academy. Because bad characters is something that takes up most of your time when you are developing an exploit, and it's very tiresome, going through the stack and seeing which character exactly causes the malfunction. So Mona.py definitely helps with that, and it helps to automate stuff, so it becomes a little easier and saves up a lot of time. So you need to get comfortable with all of these small things. So about the machines, so there are different machines, like 20 marks, 25 marks machines. So what will be there is very difficult to answer, because that is something I cannot answer even. So look for recent exploits, recent available exploits, something like the Apache Tomcat one, or the Apache Tomcat upload one, to be very specific. So these kind of exploits are the ones that would be there. And apart from that, you should even don't do a uh, full port scan. That is the most important thing about going along with the machines. And the next point that I would like to say is that do not go for the lowest hanging fruit. Like, there would be times that you'll find a vulnerable version of an FTP, and you will try to just go without looking anything further. You will just go and try to look for exploits, and then the exploit will not work, and then you'll try to fix the exploit, and it will still not work. And later you'll find out that there was another port that was open, which was subsequently vulnerable to some other thing, and which was the path to go, but you went to inside a rabbit hole and then you couldn't come out. So the easiest, lowest hanging fruit is not the only thing that you should look forward for. Keep a track of what are you doing, what are the things that are available, what are the ports that are open, what are the available services, what things can be done, and try to figure out everything on each port. Like if you found 5 ports, try to do everything on each of the ports. Like even if you find the port SSH, try to look forward for something in SSH. Try it brute force. That's another story. But that's the way to go about it. There's an amazing post by Got Milk from OffSec. I have also given the link. You can just go ahead and check that link out. It's an amazing resource to knowing of how to avoid rabbit holes. So that is something you should check and avoid, because it's a 24-hour exam, and if you go into a rabbit hole, your 7 to 8 hours, your hours will just vanish in like a jolt, and then you know you'll be pressuring yourself into thinking of what to do next. So I'll try to avoid the low hanging fruits as much as you can, and try to remain focused, because this 23 hours 45-minute exam can really take a toss on your back especially. So get yourself seated in a very comfortable place where you do not sleep, but yeah, you try to work. uh, Privilege escalation is one of the hardest things for me. After the exploitation is done, you have to do the post exploiting, because this is the post exploitation phase where you need to find something inside the Windows or Linux box and try to come up with something where you can exploit your privilege either to the system or the root shell. It's one of the hardest parts, because looking forward for the tiny bits which are right there in front of you, but still you need to find them. Especially when it comes to Windows, it's very hard for me. Even like suppose you are running the tool like PowerUp, and you have run the script, but you are still not able to find anything, then it becomes problematic, because you need to manually go ahead and check for different things that could be exploitable. Linux boxes are fairly easy, because I don't know, it's just you run commands and you see the interface and then you go ahead and exploit it. That's fairly simple. I'm not talking about kernel exploits here, but when it comes to Windows, it's very problematic. Thanks to our friend called Tribius, which he has come up with certain Udemy courses like Windows exploitation and Windows exploitation and Linux exploitation for privilege escalation. He has come up with these 2 courses. So if you're looking forward for taking OSCP or any other course, or you just want to learn privilege escalation for your CTFs, these are the 2 best courses available, and you should definitely take it. I myself had taken the Linux one, and it gave me certain knowledge which I was not aware of. Like there are certain things that are just there and right in front of you, but you're not able to use them because you didn't know about it earlier. But now, since I know it, it's relatively easier for me to escalate privileges on Linux as well as the Windows boxes. So probably you should try that particular course. I'm not endorsing, or I'm not getting paid for it, but yeah, it's always good to support a fellow person who's willing to help different people, right? So you should definitely try these courses. Last but not the least, some helpful tips which will definitely help you during the course, during the exam especially, is copy paste some of those repeated commands that you will use during the commands, like the netcat without e, the reverse shells. Keep those commands in a list so that you are able to use them. Apart from that, I will suggest that you keep your Kali updated, because if suppose your Kali is not updated and you're running an exploit and it needs Python 3 and you do not have Python 3 on your system, so it will take certain amount of time to install and do stuff. So it's suggested that you do that beforehand. Run a few exploits so that all your paths are there, the Python requests library is there. That's one of the most needed libraries when you are trying to exploit something. So try to have that. And if you've been trying to run your exploit and it's not running, try using the knob slides, for a few bytes, so that your instruction goes to the EIP, and from there it finds the knob slides, and then it goes to your exploit rather than just directly going to the exploit. Sometimes, depending on the platform, it might not work. So you need to have certain bytes of knobs included inside your exploit. So try using these tips, and I hope this video was very helpful for you. Thank you so much.